I'm your host, DeQuell Jackson, and you're tuning in to Athletes Unplugged. Today's guest is Darius Butler. He spent 9 years in the National Football League. He was drafted in the second round of the 2009 NFL Draft by the New England Patriots. You can also catch him weekly at his very own podcast called the Man to Man Podcast, alongside his co-host, Antoine Bethea. D-Butt, what's going on, bro? Hey, man, thank you for taking the time. I know you got a busy schedule. We got a lot to talk about, bro, but I want to get into this because COVID is still amongst us. And So my question to you is, what I ask most guests is, how have you been able to maintain and stay safe, and how have you been able to keep that safety for your family?
Hey, well, first of all, it's an honor and a pleasure to be on the pod, man. I'm excited for you, man. I'm happy for you along this journey. Congrats on being named a Brown legend.
Oh, yeah, appreciate that,
man. I know that means a lot to you and your family. You poured your heart and soul out in that organization, man. They took a shot on you, and you obviously left it all out there. So that's dope, man. Huge. I'm going to get on your ass about that hat you had on, though.
Hey, come on, y'all. Okay.
When you was doing your video. But I see that's your style. I see that's your
that's my LA swag, man. You know what I'm saying?
I see on your LA shit. You got to switch it up when y'all got that baldy. But nah, man, it's so COVID been crazy, man. It's been wild. It's obviously been going on, affecting our country, for over a year now. We've all been affected by either, personally with family. I lost a very close family member with my aunt. COVID this March, which it was right after my birthday, right after her birthday too. So it's tough. My family, half of my family in the house came down with COVID. Less than a month ago. So we were on the other side of it. So yeah, it's obviously when your family dealing with stuff and when the world is dealing with something, you do your best to educate yourself as much as possible and take the necessary steps. But it's been crazy, man. And obviously now with this vaccine coming out, it's a lot of conversation and even controversy around that when speaking on that publicly. So it's been crazy, but we don't go around a bunch of crowds anyway. I'm rarely in spaces with a bunch of, I guess strangers, you could say. But when we do go out, we try to take as much precaution as possible. And at the same time, we're living life. We're not living necessarily in fear. And being down here in Florida, it's a different world down here. So
right. You know what? I realize that everyone lives in their own little bubbles. DC, they have their little bubble. Mm-hmm. Florida has their bubble. In different regions, they have their own little bubbles where what have you. So what I want to get into next is because I know you and because it's seven. It's 7 siblings, right? You have 7 brothers and sisters.
Well, eight siblings. Yep.
Eight siblings. Mm-hmm. And so, speaking of family, I want to jump to that because for me, I have 2 older brothers, and my middle brother, we lived together. So I used to. You said this before in the locker room. He was like, "Man, you need some damn kids. You play too much." when I was young, that's all I used to do, bro, is just terrorize my brother to the point where I didn't think he really messed with me all that much, but. So my question to you is, what was it like growing up with that many siblings? Because for me, that would have been heaven for me to have another, partner to play pranks and do all that. And more importantly, who the hell was the judge and the ruler of all these kids, man? Because that had to have been a situation.
Yeah, it was fun. So it's my older brother.
So are you the old? So you're not the oldest?
No, I'm not the oldest. And
I didn't know that.
A lot of people think I'm the oldest, but I got an older brother that's 5.5 years older than me.
Okay.
And then older sister who didn't grow up. We didn't grow up together. And then after that, but then it was that big gap between me and Mitchell. He was gone when I was 12. Really, he was kind of out of the house, so I was the oldest sibling in the house. At that point. So I took a lot of the older brother duties. But like you said, it was always a great time in the house. And it was a lot of boys too. It's 6 boys. So it was football games in the house, wherever we could find and make a hoop. It was basketball games outside, going into different neighborhoods, different gyms, different parks. It was always, it was always important that, hey, we got each other's back. wherever we go. If you saw one Butler, you saw 3 or 4. So
yeah, and y'all a family that's highly athletic too. I mean, there's a ton of families out here that you have a bunch of siblings, but if I'm not mistaken, you have brothers that play D1 football. Yep. Your sister is extremely athletic. Like that is rare, bro. And when I did some little research on you, and I realized your father actually was in the military for 11 years, and so. Were you guys bounced around a lot as children, or because I think I read someplace that you were born in Frankfurt, Germany?
Yeah, right? I was born in Germany. Okay, I see you did your research.
You know what I'm saying? I gotta take care of my guy, man.
But I was born Army brat. My dad was in the Army. He grew up. Him and my mom grew up down here in Miami, Florida. When I was born, he was stationed in Germany, and I moved around a lot as a kid. Me and my older brother. Went from Germany, we moved to San Diego. He was based there. And then when he moved back to Florida, he got out of the military in 91. And that was when I was 5 going on 6. And then we were in South Florida, but we moved around a lot, within South Florida. So Fort Lauderdale, Miami, Miramar, just different places. So I went to like 4 or 5 different elementary schools.
Yeah.
2 different middle schools and then only 1 high school. So by the time we got to that point, so my younger siblings didn't really move around that much. But my older brother, myself, my younger brother, Real, and then my younger sister, Brianna, we moved around a lot. But the rest of them pretty much, home based down in Florida. But even that part was fun. So we always had each other.
Right,
which is huge. So I know it's tough on kids, especially when you bounce around from place to place. You're the new kid in school, the new kid. But what always helped me was always athletic and good in sports. So I always got along, obviously, with all the dudes, and then the girls like the athletes. So that was always easy when you got your brothers and sisters, and so it was always easy to make those transitions. Easier, I guess, to make those transitions, and most importantly, we always made it fun. Man, it didn't matter if. We didn't have cable, we didn't have this or that. Like we was gonna have fun and make the best of it.
I get it, man. I tell you, that's an ideal situation for me, man. Because listen, I said that's an ideal situation for me to have that many siblings to run around and get into whatever you want to get into. But so you get to Florida and you go to Coral Springs Charter High School?
Uh-huh.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So. Because I've seen you hoop and I've done my little research, please tell me, when did you start playing football? Because I feel like there was a moment where I think basketball was your first love, and then you kind of just, by happenstance, kind of fell into playing football your junior year of high school?
Yeah, so my older brother, he was always a big football guy. He played in high school as well. He went on to the military. After high school. My pops, he was athletic, but he never really had the opportunity to even kind of follow any athletic dreams because he was working, from age 15, 16, he was working and helping his mom and his family make ends meet. So he kind of just voided that. And I always played football in the street, always loved football. I played a little bit, Little League, couple years, Little League. And then once I went to Coral Springs Charter High School, which was at the time either the first or second charter school down, I didn't even know what a charter school was at that point. I got there. The way I got there is a whole nother story. I got pulled out of my middle school because I was getting in trouble. So I was actually homeschooled my last half of 8th grade and first half of 9th grade. And it's like my younger brother who was in 6th grade at the time. So we got both pulled out of middle school because our mom was getting in trouble. My mom and my dad were educators in the Broward County school system. So they're like, hey, you're not about to embarrass me. Yeah, we're not about to embarrass me. That's not what we're doing. Pulled us out of school, and I was begging to get back in school. I mean, I wanted some homework. I wanted some, because this was before cell phones, social media.
Right. So all the interaction was face to face.
That was tough. So it was just me and my brother for about a good year, actually, where we just was completely out of school. But I went back to Coral Springs Charter, and it was such a new program. It's tough to build a football program. So I started playing basketball for my freshman year. And then finally my junior year, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go out for the football team. And I had a coach, Otis Mounds, who coached me. Mike Higgins and Otis Mounds. But Otis Mounds put me to the side one time. He was like, hey man, you 5'9", you 5'10".
Yeah.
Like, I know you love the hoop. I know you love basketball, but it ain't too many 5'9", 5'10s in the NBA.
Well, that's the same thing happened to me, boy.
Yeah.
Oh my God. When you had that conversation with a coach, like, listen, man, because my first love was basketball. You couldn't tell me that I wasn't going to the league. I wanted to go to the league and be in the NBA, bro. Because I wanted to be AI. Oh, no doubt. I got a cousin that played overseas for, 10 plus years, 6'9", his mother's 6'2". I got aunts over 6 foot. You see me, bro. I've been the same size since I was like in 8th grade. I just stopped growing. I thought for sure I was going to hit at least 6
feet. Hit that growth spurt.
Yeah. And I love football or love basketball, but I had that conversation as well with a high school coach. It's like, listen, you got to draw a line in the sand, young man. It's like, what you want to do? You're really good at football, but this basketball, you're playing 1 through 5 and you're 6 foot. That ain't gonna cut it. Yeah. Not at this high school. So that's how it happened for me, man. So
that's how it happened for a lot of us. That's how it happened for a lot of us.
And a lot of those skills are transferable to your position.
Definitely, especially
so you start playing football in high school. Clearly, you were able to have enough of an impact on the field to earn you scholarships. Now, were you one of those guys that were highly touted? Back in the day, I remember in Florida. I was in Florida as well. Like Tom Lemon was everything. It was like whether he was 1-star, 2-star, 3-star, 5-star. Like, did you have?
I wasn't even really that cognizant, that really aware of like that. I would pay attention to Rivals a little bit. Rivals was kind of taking off, and I was like a 1.5, maybe a 2-star, but I didn't go to a bunch of camps, like football camps. I didn't go to a lot of those things that a lot of football players are doing during like my basketball season. You know what I mean?
That was the thing to do back then.
Yeah, that was my thing. But like, yes, that's how people got ranked and all these different things. But I wasn't doing any of that. So, and then once again, this was still before like social media and things like that. And it's easier to get lost in the sauce, when you're down here in South Florida, because we pumping out Division I athletes left and right. So my coach, Otis Mounds, he actually grew up with the running backs coach that was at UConn, and that was from Fort Lauderdale as well. They kind of grew up together, and he kind of was like, hey, I got a guy here who the real deal. Nobody know about him because we at Coral Springs. I mean, when I tell you, like, we didn't have our own stadium. We barely had the resources to be able to compete.
So if I could interrupt you for 1 second, like I assume, listen, I grew up 4 hours north of Miami. So I assume every high school in Miami, Fort Lauderdale area is a powerhouse. And I live, so in my mind, I'm thinking like you went to a powerhouse school and, because you're from Florida, that Fort Lauderdale, Miami area, you just
I was the first Division I athlete from my school. Any sport.
Oh, wow. Okay.
The first Division I athlete. So when I was in high school and I used to tell other people, like I go to the neighborhood gym or go somewhere else, like, damn, where you play at? I'm like, I play charter. Like, charter? Like, what is that? Because my school was actually converted into a high school from a mall that nobody even really went to. Yeah. So like the location of my high school, I had never been anywhere kind of even near that vicinity. Like that was probably 15 to like 17 minutes away from where I actually lived. So it was crazy. And not only from the athletic standpoint, but even the academic standpoint, like it was because we didn't have the same rules or laws as public schools or private schools. So a lot of the teachers didn't really, so it was very, very different. And I had some, opportunity to go and play at, especially after my junior year. That's when all the other big schools was kind of like, how it is behind the scenes. A lot of recruiting going on. So I literally had high school coaches in my living room. Hey, we need to come here. We need to do it was crazy, but I'm glad I went through it that way. And then it kind of going to UConn, and UConn kind of been a basketball school and not been a football school. I kind of dealt with a lot of the same things on the college level that I dealt with in high school. So it definitely prepared me.
Yeah, that explains why your number 2 jersey was retired. Then is that the only number retired right now from football?
Might be. It might be. I gotta.
You need to find that out. You need to find that out. That's dope. That's dope.
Yeah.
So you get to UConn. You figure out that's where you want to go because if my memory serves me correctly, there was either Florida Atlantic, Indiana, and UConn. So you get to UConn, and it's rare that you meet guys in the league that, normally you meet guys that are 2-year starters, 3-year starters. You were actually a 4-year starter.
Yeah.
Like, how in the hell did you were able to get on the field that early, bro? Because that is unheard of. You don't hear about guys.
Yeah.
I know you redshirted your first year, but 4-year starter.
That was So I read. So going once again. So you got the mindset because you're from Florida too. Mm-hmm. As Florida high school football players, it's probably similar like New York City basketball players or like that PG County basketball player. Like when you go somewhere else, you feel like you're the best. Because I feel like I've seen the best, whether not against high school, in the streets, and wherever I go.
No doubt about it.
And down here in Florida, like we kind of wired in a way where it's like we want to line up across from that other dog. Whoever the dog is that y'all say, whether basketball, football, whatever, I want to see. I want to see him. I want to see about you. I want to see what they're talking about. Mm-hmm. So when I went up to UConn, I'm like, yo, I'm in UConn. Like, I'm about to start.
That's
day 1, 2 freshman. Like, come on, I'm not even supposed to be here for real. I'm supposed to be at U right now. But getting up there and kind of getting smacked in the face with that, after training camp competing, I feel like I'm doing a good job. Right. I'm a buck, 64, soaking wet at the time. And then Coach Ezra sit me down.
On a basketball body.
Yeah, exactly. Coach Ezra sit me down and he's like, hey, we want you to get bigger, faster, stronger for a year. We're going to redshirt you. And at the time, I didn't really know what a red shirt was. And it was frustrating. I was disappointed. You're going to tell me I'm doing everything except practicing. Like, I'm even going to dress up on game day and just stand on the damn sideline. Right, so that was frustrating, but kind of halfway through that year. And Dan Orlowski was our quarterback at the time. He was there. We had a lot of other good players on that side. So I'm like, all right, you know what? These practices are going to be my games. Like,
And
even still, I didn't, week 6, I'm thinking, you know what? Shit, I'm going to show them that I should be playing. But it was frustrating, but it ended up, once again, being something that panned out for me. And then after my junior year, so I got on the field as a red shirt freshman and never really looked back. But after my red shirt junior year, I'm sitting in the paperwork to the NFL to kind of see what they thought of me as far as my draft position. They gave me like a 3-4 grade, around 3 or 4, or 3 to 5, something like that. But my people I was talking to were like, hey, they usually give you a round or 2 later to try to keep you in school. Right. And it was a corner heavy draft that year. DRC, Kaysen, like 5 or 6 corners that went first round.
Because you were the 41st pick of the second round, right?
I was the first. I was a high second round pick. So even in my draft, I still went second round. But I came back to school to be a first round pick, basically. And I had already kind of worked out with my coach. Like, if I come back my senior year, you're gonna let me play offense. You're gonna let me do all these things that I've been asking you to do. So I actually got a chance to go both ways my senior year.
So I was going to ask you about that because I noticed you played a little receiver, and I didn't know you played a little bit of returner. I was like, I could see the skills when we started playing together. It was later in your career. I could see the, you know what I'm saying? I could see how you were able to be a returner and do multiple things. But that's interesting, man. That's because Etzel was actually the head coach at University of Maryland up the street from me.
He left us. He left us in the. I ain't like how he left us. I'm still cool with Randy, but he definitely left us after we lost the Fiesta Bowl to Oklahoma. He left those guys and went up to Maryland, which wasn't a damn upgrade.
It was a cup of tea. Hey, don't do that.
I felt like that was a lateral move.
Hey, bro. No, with the players in this area, I felt the same way as you did when you went to UConn. Man, the DMV not only has basketball. So when obviously my freshman year, I come up, I have that Florida attitude. Like, man, who are these? Like, I was supposed to be at Florida State. You're lucky they didn't offer me. I could have went to Florida, but I was like, I wasn't messing with Florida. So I'm like, so I get out here and I realize, you come there with a certain swag, you might as well wear a jersey with a bullseye on it. Oh Lord. The first week of camp, boy, I remember calling my uncle. I was like, man, I don't know if this is gonna work out. Like, these boys can play. I can't get off a block. But you end up figuring it out or whatever. Yeah. But so what I want to go to. Was there anyone else from? Because I remember at one point, weren't you guys ranked at UConn? And if my memory serves me correctly, there was a lot of guys from down south that was on that team, right?
Oh yeah. So the guy Terry Richardson, he did a phenomenal job of, and being involved with a Division I college program like recruiting, that's the lifeline of your program. So at UConn, what a lot of people did in the Big East at that time, Rutgers, Pittsburgh, West Virginia.
Yeah.
They had their pipeline states, and Florida was a pipeline state for Syracuse, for all those biggies, all those schools along the East Coast. So they did a great job. We had a lot of guys there from Florida, Georgia, Pennsylvania, New Jersey. And, that was the first time I even had any type of respect for football from any other state.
No doubt.
Y'all came from Jersey. Okay, y'all can play some ball. PA. Okay, y'all can do something.
Yeah. So it's funny you say that. So when I first got to school here in Maryland, everything is kind of cliquish or whatever. So all the guys from North Carolina, Florida, Georgia, all the Southern guys like hung out with each other. You know what I'm saying? And that's how it kind of morphed into what you just said. It was like, man, these dudes can actually play. You know what I'm saying? If we had a quarterback, yada, 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 we would have made more, we would have been ranked a lot more. But so let's fast forward. So you have a great career at UConn. You get drafted 41st overall to the New England Patriots. At this time, they're a well-oiled machine.
Yep.
Tom Brady is rolling. The Bill Belichick way, the Patriot way is in full effect at the early stages. Walk me through what was that experience like, a kid from Florida, a kid that was an Army brat, you go to a charter school that, as you mentioned, you didn't have a stadium, you dealt with the things you had to deal with. You go to UConn, you go through the whole transition of these guys can't play, they can't play, and you create a bond there, and now you're in New England. Yeah. And I've heard rumors about it, just the level of the Patriot way. And I'll tell you a quick story. So I kind of know a little bit about it because when I was in Cleveland, a guy by the name of Eric Mangini.
I was about to say, I already knew what you were about to say.
Yeah, he's a disciple of the Belichick tree. And I remember him being a coach, and I was like, bro, this isn't football. This ain't football, bro. Because I remember on the scoreboard, on the practice field, there was a quote. When you walk in the building, there was a quote. There was quotes all around the building.
Across the wall, yep.
And when we would get to a team meeting, Darius Butler, stand up. You would have to stand up. The first week of training camp, name every linebacker name every linebacker. Or name, all the DBs stand up. And it became like, bro, everybody was dreading.
Belichick asked me, one of my team, one of the old linemen's, like either their name, and after he asked me their name, like, what college did he go to?
Right.
And, but go ahead, bro. I don't mean to cut you off.
No, you good, because that was the same. I remember walking in the building like, man, this. First of all, we weren't winning games.
Yeah,
and you gonna care, and it spilled over to the regular season, and it was to the point where it was like, damn, man, I'm more so worried about what quote is on the scoreboard on the practice field than the Pittsburgh Steelers who coming in our house this week. So
were you there before Mangini?
Yeah, I was there before Mangini.
Okay,
it was funny.
That's part of it too.
Yeah, so he looked at everyone was part of the problem and not the solution. So I was in that community of players that he thought either needed to be out or needed to see that we can prove to stay around. But it's funny, a few years ago at a Super Bowl, I ran into him, Eric Mangini. Ran into him. I still got his number to this day. And we were at a Super Bowl party. He had a drink. I had a drink. And before he said a word, I was like, man, I got to tell you something. He was like, DeQuell, I already know. He's like, so many players have come. I was like, no, I need to say my piece. Yeah. I was like, what in the hell were you thinking? He was like, and he explained to me, he was like, listen, I was trying to create a culture. He's got Bill Belichick, Bill Parcells, that old school mentality with a new way of thinking. Mm-hmm. So he at the end of the conversation, we basically left it as there was a lot of things he would have done differently, but I had to say my piece because, man, damn. I mean, it was rough, man. It was rough playing for him. So what was your experience like going to that system?
So I rewind a little bit. So back in the page, so like you said, at UConn, when I got to UConn, literally the men's and the women had were fresh off of national championships on the basketball team. And as we know, UConn, that was the only thing I knew of UConn even growing up was Ray Allen and like Rip Hamilton, Khalid El-Amin. Like I didn't really know UConn as football at all. So it was a whole transition. So like my high school obviously was a huge transition period, fourth to school. And then when I get to UConn, same thing for the football program. We're going to Division I Big East. And so I was obviously a part of that turnaround. My recruiting class and the classes that came after us, a couple before us as well. Dan Orlowski and those guys, they started the ball. We kept it rolling. We took it to another level. So we got us to a point where we were playing multiple games on national TV. We got ranked, I think, all the way up to 13. So this was for the first time. We went to our first bowl game in history. So all these different things. I was a captain, a 2-time captain at UConn. So it was a lot of responsibility. And Randy Essel, he ran a strict program. I'm sure you probably heard it from a lot of guys that went to Maryland.
Yep.
That's his thing. He runs a tight ship. He's like a Tom Coughlin type of guy. He worked with him in Jacksonville before UConn. So going to New England, it wasn't a huge transition from that standpoint. You see the pros, and you hear different stories. And my cousin Willis McGay, he was in the league at the time. But going to New England, it's a different world. And if that's your first experience as a pro, you may feel like, I kind of felt like, okay, this is just what the NFL is. And like you said, walking in, hey, what's the 4 things on the outside of the door when you walk in? What's the 4 things on the inside of the door before you walk out and leave? What's on the wall before you come in? Knowing your teammates. Knowing the exact distance between the hash mark and the top of the numbers, knowing like all of these different type of things. I mean, before we played the Packers one time, Belichick put on some game film from legit like the 1960s to talk about how like they innovated the forward pass game and all the time. I'm talking about just some crazy stuff.
They were students of the game, man. And what I forgot to mention about that conversation I had with Mangini was, when he left, that was the first time I was able to compartmentalize the game. Why calls were being called when they were being called. The fringe area, the middle of the field, backed up. He would regurgitate this information, gotta have it plays. And I learned so much from him that it stuck with me to when we played together. And when I realized, when I met you for the first time and we were in that locker room in Indy, I realized we spoke the same language. And that it didn't occur to me what your background was, because I was, Eric Mangini tree, and the way we approached the game, the way we prepared for the game, and the way we wanted to understand the calls. I think that's what led to a lot of our success, definitely in the back end, because it was you, Pops. I mean, we had some veteran guys who understood the game. And I think a lot of times it gets overlooked, man. A lot of GMs just think because you're older, there's no value. But listen,
that's huge, man. You saw A-Rod talk about it. I don't know if you caught his press conference yesterday, but he talked about that in his press conference. Talked about certain guys who meant certain things to the locker room, whether it be, Casey Hayward, James Jones, C. Wood, Pep, Jordy Nelson. He named all James Jones. He named all these guys because, they mean something to the locker room that the outside people can't see. And when you first got there, I can vividly remember one time I feel like you were upset about not getting, or no, it was something you were checking to.
Oh, I remember that.
If I check this shit, y'all can play that shit.
That was my first year I was there, bro. And I think it was like a 2-minute drill. It was in the bubble.
Yep.
I remember that shit. Oh, yeah, I remember that like it was yesterday, bro. Like, it was my first introduction. I wanted to get everything right. And you know how it is, man. You got to
I like that shit. Even though I was, I had been there for a few years and I kind of knew but I'm like, okay, I like this gonna be because you come in, you the leader of defense. So like we gotta number one know that you preparing and that you give a F about it.
Shit.
You know what I mean? And that everybody else around you is on point. So I'm like, these are the type of people I want to be on the field with, and like you said, Pops was there and other people were there that were Ewald. Everybody wanted to know, like, okay, what exactly are we doing? So that way when you get in that real fire, it's less, it's less of that going on because we already, did that. And sometimes you got to have them tough conversations where it's like, hey, when I call some shit, y'all, hey, we can talk about that shit later. So I'm like, okay.
Quiet as kept, I had to swallow my pride because I went to you. We had a conversation. And it was like, DQ, we need to check the blah, blah, blah. And I think I went to guys individually throughout before we went to the next period. I'm like, man, that's my mistake. You know, I'm gonna get it right. But hold me to it. You know what I'm saying? But in the future, I wanted to gain enough trust with you guys to know I'm gonna get it right so many times. So if I do screw something up, and if it's wrong, what's the saying in the NFL? If we all wrong, we all wrong, we all right.
Yeah, and that's for damn sure. Yeah, for sure.
That was my first introduction. I was like, okay, because I came in like I'm gonna be myself. This is what I was used to. I'm gonna be myself. I'm gonna try to outwork everyone. Know the system through and through. And that's funny you bring that up, bro, because that's one of the moments that I remember that was special to me, because I was absolutely wrong. And everybody on the defense knew I was wrong.
Yeah.
But, you know, it was like you had a
that's how that's the only way you work through that shit. You know, you got to have a conversation. Sometimes they're uncomfortable, sometimes they're tough, but you have them and you obviously continue to respect each other and continue to work and move forward. And with to get back kind of to your question, so New England was coming off. This was after Brady's injury, and he was coming back.
This is a comeback year, right?
This was the comeback year. You know, he had the long hair, but it was also kind of a transition period for the Patriots. So the Patriots, throughout their runs, they've always had kind of like those pillar type guys in the locker rooms, whether it been a Ty Law, Seymour, Vince Wilfork, Brady. You know, whoever it may be in that locker room, who once again, Kevin Falk, guys outside the locker room may not know that these are kind of like the glue guys. So we were kind of in that transition period where we had Lee Bodden that came over as a free agent.
Lee Bodden, I know Lee Bodden,
who you know is an individual, independent thinker. Sean Springs, who at that point was a 13, 14-year vet, so who's been doing it kind of his way or a certain way for a long time. Adalius Thomas, who came over from Baltimore. Derek Burgess, Gerard Warren, G1 Big Money. So we had so many different guys from different teams and different personalities that it wasn't truly like it was the Patriot way from the coaching standpoint, but as far as the players and how the locker room and the makeup of the locker room was, it wasn't necessary. Everybody wasn't on that same page. So now if you look at it now, over the last decades, the Patrick Chungs, the Devin McCourtys, the Matt Slaters, Steven Skosowski, you know, all those type of guys, Julian Edelman, who kind of held that, like we were kind of in that transition period, and we kind of honestly, to keep it real, it was kind of a group of us that wasn't really on that page. And I kind of got drawn into that because I'm like, shit, I'm going to listen to what Lee talking about. I'm going to listen to what Springs talking about. They tell me we had a first-year DB coach, Josh Boyer, who, you know, you look at his resume, and it's like, you know, okay, this dude 30-something years. I think Springs was older than him at the time, and he was coming from, like, King's College, or you know how the coaches, Belichick, be getting. So, they didn't really respect him like that. So he would correct me. And then I had Springs and Lee telling me, like, hey, bro, like, you nice, man. Like, you need it. Like, that's some old school shit. Like, go out there and do your thing. So I was kind of caught in between that, got in that Belichick doghouse, and shit kind of went downhill from there. But when I moved on and went to, you know, Carolina and ended up in Indy, like, the things that I learned, and I go back kind of and think about, like, I learned so much from them as far as preparation-wise, as far as understanding how offenses and quarterbacks work, offensive coordinators, and why we did certain things. Like, that's so important. And it's such little time we have in those facilities that a lot of times coaches get to the what, but they don't really get to the why. I think what they do in New England, they do it. And obviously having Brady buy in and be that kind of Tim Duncan type personality in the locker room does huge wonders, because you don't see it really work. You didn't see it work with Patricia in Detroit. You didn't see it work with Josh James in Denver, Mangini in Cleveland, Charlie Weiss in the play. Like, it's just Romeo Cornell. It just doesn't work unless you have the guys in place buying in. But if you buy in and you obviously got all time great at the right position, you can win a lot of chips. But the way they did things, if you've been in one of those type places and you go to other places, you understand, you know, why they win consistently. But it was tough for me because I was kind of caught in the, I'm always listening to the vets.
No doubt.
For these coaches. So I was kind of caught in that position, but learned a lot from it when I look back, look back at my whole 9-year career.
So I want to switch gears for a second. And I know, we talked about COVID early on, and for me, I can't wait to take my next trip. And through COVID, I was able to go, take some vacations last year where I could sharpen my tools on the snowboard. Now I heard through the grapevine, through a friend of mine, that you actually tried to. You know, I don't know whether it was a snowboard, skis, or what have you, but yeah, I heard you experienced skiing for the first time. Please do tell. What was that like, bro? Because you know, honestly, you're retired now. You're retired. Yeah. Now. Obviously, it's something you can't do while you're playing.
It's something I would have never done. Players do it while they're playing, but it's something I personally wouldn't have done or tried to pick up. Maybe if I grew up doing it, I would have did them off season. But I ain't gonna lie, man, it was fun. It was a lot of fun. It was definitely a great experience, and honestly, you know, I picked it up pretty good. You know, being competitive athlete. I think I talked to you.
You know what? Yeah, that ain't what I heard though. But I got confirmation.
Hey, let me tell you how it went.
Okay. I'm gonna hear your side of the story.
And what is it like? You go on like the greens and the double greens. You hit the bunny hill first to training. So I had a real training session. Shout out to Meg, Vontae's wife, who set up the training session for me. Had a real training session. And went out there and hit the slopes, and I was doing my thing on the greens, double greens.
Right.
Was it a blue? And then I think Meg took me on the blue.
Wait, this is your first time skiing?
First weekend skiing. First of all, I'm like, all right, I'm ready for blue.
Let me tell you this. The first time skiing, you need to know who your competition is. Vontae and Meg.
Competition. See, that's the thing. Vontae and Meg, they are so like.
They feel it,
so encouraging and so like, come up here with us, hit the blue, hit the double blue.
No,
so I'm like, all right, bet.
No.
Man, it was rough, and I had on the resorts skis, so it wasn't my personal skis, so they would pop off. But it was still fun, and I liked my progress. And I told them, hey, next time we go, I'm hitting the blacks. They like.
Wait, hold on. You ambitious? See, this is what
I gotta go. If I'm gonna go, I'm gonna go. I'm a 0-100.
No, I feel you on that. I feel you on that. So the first time I went with Tay, first time Tay ever put on a pair of skis, we were there probably maybe.
Oh, you were with him his first time.
His first time.
Okay.
First, we were there 4 or 5 days. Tay, you know, you go the bunny slope, you go green, you go blue. By the end of the week, this man was on blacks, bro. This man is fearless,
if I would stayed a week, I might.
This man, see, I'm too cautious because it took me 4 years to finally be able to snowboard on a black. Like, I don't need that speed, bro.
Did you try the skis at all?
I never put that feel too awkward. I like to be. When I was young, bro, I was into everything. I got a skateboard.
Yeah, I'm about to say, how does that feel more awkward? Because I feel awkward on the snowboard. Like I'm
man. I want to be. I got a snowboard. I got all the gear. I got my snowboard gear. I got a helmet. I got all my equipment. And I used to, back in the day when I was young, man, I used to get picked on and bullied for it. But I used to skateboard. Wow. I used to try to skateboard.
Okay.
But so I was always used to having my feet together, like to have all this stuff and. You know, holding a ski pole and individual skis. Now I'm gonna try it one day.
And all that, yeah.
But like, if you fall, you're gonna lose something. Like I've been on those blacks, bro.
I was flying.
Nah, see that ain't my game, bro. That ain't my game. But
man.
So let me bring some up. It's a little bit more serious, but you know, obviously the Olympics is going on right now.
Yep.
Everybody's tuning in to it. Hell, I caught myself watching water polo the other day, and I would never watch water polo.
I caught some of that too right after the volleyball.
Yeah, if you're a competitor, what chance do you get to watch all these individual sports and see the best doing it? So obviously, from all over the world. So obviously, the Simone Biles situation comes up, and I guess for those who haven't paid attention to it, that's been on a rock. Well, she she decided to not continue her, her floor routine or whatever. She withdrew from competition.
Yeah.
And her reason was for mental health reasons. My question to you is, do you feel there's a sense of, because I grew up in 2 different NFLs. The early NFL was, you don't ask, you don't tell. We give you whatever you want to play these games. And now it's slowly transitioning to actually taking care of guys. Like what's your stance on the whole mental health aspect of players? Because in my honest opinion, before you answer, I think a lot of it if we look at guys who have gotten in any trouble or been in any tight situation or going off the rails, so to speak, we immediately, the NFL has gotten a black eye for.
Oh yeah.
Oh, we automatically, he's troubled, he's this, he's that. But now I feel like there's a shift of having the sympathy for the athlete and what's going on up top. I'm curious to know what's your opinion.
Yeah, it's definitely a shift. You're always gonna have people on multiple sides of it. And it's a very, I feel like, nuanced conversation. And it's because it's one of those things that's so individual. Like we can go through, we can have the same trauma or the same whatever, but me and you can react to that completely different. So I think the conversation around mental health as a whole is getting more respect, number one, because like you said, you came in and you kind of went through two different NFLs, and I feel like I did too. I feel like some of the things when I came in, like we now can't talk about viewed as barbaric. Like I talked about an AV this morning on the pod, and I'm like, when I came in the league, like if you like reported yourself for a concussion or something, like that was soft.
Right.
Like, what you mean? Exactly. And that was like a physical injury. Like my I got a head injury, but like people were like, nah, you get out there and play. You hold it down for yourself. You hold it down for your teammates. And now the conversation is changing. Obviously with Simone Biles, I couldn't imagine being in her shoes and dealing with the things that she's had to deal with, not only as far as when it comes to her performing and being, the greatest of all time in her sport.
Right. People don't understand. I don't mean to cut you off, but people don't understand how stressful. I can't even imagine what a gymnast has to go through, because you train for years, and to do a floor routine, you have 90 seconds to be perfect. Yeah. When you've trained for years and you have to be perfect, or you get lost in the shuffle. I don't know. I don't want to know what that pressure is like, because for me, I started playing the game of football when I was 7. And from the age I was 7 to the age I was done playing at 33, you probably know this, before every game, because my anxiety and stress levels were high, I wanted to do the best I could. I didn't want to let you down. I didn't want to let my teammates down. I threw up before every game. Yeah. And once I threw up,
I knew Art there. I thought Art was my only teammate that did that.
No, I used to hide in the back, bro. I used to hide in the back and try not to make noise, man. But it was that anxiety was real. So I think it's definitely a conversation that we need to have more of, because I know. Listen, I'm on both sides of the fence, right? Some things you need to tough it out. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, man. We're entitled group of this entitled new wave of athletes. Like, come on now. But on the other hand, I'm not quick to judge that you're soft, that you're entitled. It's like there's more to it than that.
That's and I think, unfortunately, like athletes are treated differently, depending on, if the media as a whole kind of likes the athlete, or, men and women are definitely treated differently when it comes to the mental health thing, because, Kyrie went through his thing with some mental issues off the court, and he was kind of smashed for it because of all of his other, he's a flat earther, or he disappeared on his team and didn't tell him this. Paul George went to his, Kevin. So like you got Simone Biles, Naomi Osaka, and others, and Brandon Marshall, who played in the same league as us at the same time. He's been very outspoken on these issues because of his personal battle. So I think it's one of those things that we'll continue to learn more about. And I think, and it's just hard for people to just take it as like, because we know when a guy injures their ACL, okay, we know what that is. Shoulder, we know what it is. But when you talk about things that are mental and that can't really be, I guess, quantified and it's it's hard to say like, hey, this is exactly what I understand it. So it's always gonna be people, and then you got your old school mentality, like, God, I would never quit on my team in the middle of a competition. Like, this is the third, but she's the greatest of all time in her sport. She's dealing with what she's dealing with personally. I think each one of these situations is an individual thing, and as humans, we just got to respect and understand that. But, obviously people put athletes on a certain pedestal, and, fair or unfair is part of what comes with it. You're going to be judged. People going to have their opinions about it. But I think you should always choose, your how truth. You're doing, your mental, your mental wellness, your physical wellness over, all those other things.
Right. So the last thing I want to leave with the Simone Biles conversation before we move on is, you got to respect the level of maturity and leadership she displayed, in my opinion, because again, I'm not a gymnast. I don't know other gymnasts, but I know they start when they're at the age of toddlers. And she's probably been doing this all of her life.
She OG in the game for sure.
She's an OG in the game, one of the best to ever do it. And to remove
she had
herself.
The twisties too, reportedly.
So okay, to that fact. So I went back and I started, I went down this rabbit hole. I wanted to look at, find out, has she ever had these incidents before, like occur, like her mental health issues? And it did. She was interviewed back in February when she was asked a question about the 2020 Olympics being canceled. She was on record saying that she went into depression, that she slept all the time, and that she's been publicly, voice her concerns or her issues, her private issues to the masses to be able to talk about in terms of mental health issues. And this isn't something new. So the fact that she had the courage to take a step back when she's trained all her life for this and say, you know what, I'm not in a good space, because this is a different ball game when you're flipping. You're flipping around.
Twisting,
if you're not in the right head space, that could be dangerous. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I want to give her all the credit, because I think it shows a level of leadership, and I'm not one of these people that's going to condemn her for doing that.
Nah, absolutely not. And even if you are of the mind like, hey, that's not the right time or the place or whatever you may like. We've had this with one of our boys, Vontae. How Vontae retired?
Right.
They retired at halftime.
No doubt.
That was absolutely unheard of. And when I called Vontae, because once I heard the news, I called him immediately. Like, I was automatic. My first thought was, damn, like, I hope he's good mentally. Like, this is odd. This is
different.
Like,
no doubt.
You don't expect this. So I called Tay, and we talked about it. We talked about it on iPad, and he, he was kind of like, I'm at peace with it. Like, I felt it at this moment, and as we know as competitors, like, you can't go out there half-stepping. You can't go out there not all in or not felt. So wherever you are mentally, physically, or whatever, you got to make the best decision for you. And I know everybody's gonna have their own opinion of it, but you got to do what's the right thing for you. Vontae did it. We had another teammate, Andrew Luck, who did it. In the preseason game. So we have close, firsthand experience to this. And I think 10, 20 years from now, it'll kind of almost be the norm in a sense, where it's like, hey, so-and-so is taking a break for their mental health or their mental well-being.
No doubt.
10 years ago, that would have been like, what?
Oh, no. What
are you talking about?
We would have trashed and threw him under the bus.
For sure.
Yeah, would have blackballed him. Exactly. No, that's real. That's real, because I spoke to Vontae that the day he retired, man, and I was with him. My first instinct was similar to yours, like, what's going on? Like, what happened? What happened? I hope he's in a good mental space. And when we had our conversation, I'm gonna keep it private, but like, I was with him 1,000%, bro. Because if Vontae, he wears an emotion on his sleeve. He's an emotional guy, man. And he needed that support, and I was gonna be there to support him, no matter what.
Absolutely, 1,000%.
No doubt. So at this part, anytime I have a guest on here, I always have like a pick six. I call it my pick six.
Okay.
I ask random questions.
I love a good pick six. And like that.
That's what I'm saying. Because I know you're a businessman. You got other opportunities coming up. So I want to get you out of here with enough time to take care of your business. So with that being said, I'm going to start with question number one. It's light, some will, you got to think a little bit, but it's light. You'll have fun with it. So,
I'm ready. Let's get it.
Yeah. So the first question of my pick six is, I got to ask all my former professional athletes, what was your first big splurge when you signed your first NFL contract?
First big splurge.
While you're thinking about it, I'm gonna tell you, I had a guest on, Vernon Davis, and I asked him the same question.
That's different. That's top 10 OCBA.
Yeah, but hold on now. This is, hey, listen. So he told me he bought an Escalade and he put Lamborghini doors on the Escalade. And I don't know, I know you listen to hip hop, and I know if you thought for a second where that come from, remember 50 Cent was hot in the early
The
2000s.
Lamborghini doors on my Escalade.
Yeah, bro, he really did that, bro. So go ahead. The floor is yours.
I mean, I guess I still say the cars in Range Rover. But like, you know, I copped a Range. But even at that time, I was a second round pick. You know, I made some good money.
I did the same thing. I was a second round pick.
But Range Rover. I was in New England. And I figured, hey, I need a nice car that I can drive year round. And,
no doubt.
And even coming into the league, I never wanted to splurge on cars and shit. So even the first car that I purchased myself, you know, that was a used. So I bought a used Range Rover. Only had about 20,000 miles on it. But man, not even 20. It had about
that's that Yukon education, man.
Yeah, I want to say it had about 9,000 miles on it. And that Range Rover, yeah. So that was the first thing I would say I splurged on was the Range, but I felt like I needed it.
No doubt. Same. All right. Question number 2 about pick 6. Because you're huge, and we didn't get a chance to really dive into it, and I'm glad I put it on
We'll do it on part 2. I'll be back.
No doubt. So I know you're a big basketball guy. We talked about it briefly, but question number 2 is, who's the best NFL hooper that you've either played with or against, not named Darius? You can't name yourself.
That's tough. Man.
Because I heard some other podcasts where Pops, he was interviewing DRC, and he mentioned you. He mentioned you as, you know, a hooper that gave him a run for his money. So I was wondering if that was going to be handed back over to him.
You know what? I say now, DRC's probably the best.
DRC is a jumper.
Probably the best athlete that I've seen, period. Hooper, I wouldn't put him in that top, you know, Revis.
You can't name yourself.
Revis, very good hooper. Tyrod Taylor, another great hooper. Bruce Ellington, another very, very good basketball. Lev Bell. I'll probably go with Anquan Bolden. I play in his game every year, so I'll probably go Josh McCown. He'll surprise you on the court. He'll surprise you on the court. Yeah, I feel like I'm maybe forgetting somebody.
Damn,
but I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna go with Bruce Ellington.
Okay, I thought I was gonna be in that mix, but it's all good. It's all good. All right. Question number 3. This is one you gotta think about it a little bit, but I thought it was interesting. You're a smart dude. Question number 3 of the pick 6: is there a skill that you wish you had that you don't possess? It could be anything, not necessarily football. It could be. I give you my. If I was answering the question, I would say like a writer, because you can write rhymes, you can write for a play, you can write for a movie. Good. Like you got a creative.
It's a lot of residual income.
Yes.
Some of the wealthiest people I know is from their writing.
Yes. And I've had time to think. Right, and I've had time to think about it, so I'm kind of cheating a little bit.
I'm gonna go with cooking, though. I'm gonna go with cooking.
Okay.
I wish that was a skill that I had, that I could just depend on myself to just cook for myself and cook the meals that I like to eat. So I'm gonna go with cooking.
Boy, man, I'm with you on that. I didn't even think about that, because the amount of money I spend on Postmates and Uber Eats a week.
Exactly, especially when you're trying to switch up your diet. You're like, I want to make more of this, eat more of this. I can't make none of that shit.
Okay,
so I go with cooking.
Bet, that's a good one. Question number 4. Because you're a professional athlete, you started playing basketball at a very young age, and you end up becoming a professional athlete for 9 years. You've been uber talented. But my question to you is, what's the one award you won that you didn't deserve? Is there one? I mean,
that I didn't deserve. Damn.
It's a little head scratcher.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly, I don't know. I've always kind of been one of the under the radar.
Okay.
I've been kind of under the radar. I would say I would kind of be in an underappreciated type of group.
Okay. So this don't apply to you.
I don't think this one really. But I did have a Wendy's. I think I won a Wendy's academic Heisman or something like that coming out of high school. I didn't deserve that. I didn't.
All right, bet you got one.
So I go with that one.
All right, bet. I got one too, man. I was in Cleveland, and I don't know if they still do it, but the beat writers, they have an award called the Good Guy Award, and they gave it to me. And I was like, man, if they only knew me behind the scenes, how I used to, get on guys for not knowing what they were doing. But that's one award I'm like, I appreciate
the wrong person.
But, you know what I'm saying? I'll take it, though. All right, so question number 5. I'm curious about this one because the guests I've had on, we got one answer that's been like the common theme. Mm-hmm. So question number 5, where I pick 6. What's your favorite movie / sitcom?
Life, easily.
Okay.
Life,
okay.
And actually, one person is in both. So Life is my favorite movie. Martin, and Eddie Murphy, they co-starred in that. That's one of my favorite movies. I got all the one-liners. I know every line probably. Anchorman is another favorite of mine. Super bad.
No
I got a lot of movies. Shawshank Redemption, Harlem Nights. A lot of them in my top 5, but I would go Life, undoubtedly my top 5. Number 1. And then favorite sitcom would be Martin. So,
bruh, everybody I've had on for the most has said Martin. That's mine too.
Favorite sitcom, undefeated.
Yeah, no doubt.
Undisputed.
So last of the pick 6. This is gonna sum it up. I know you're busy,
walking
man.
across the goal line with the ball.
It's a layup, kind of not. But we'll see. Because you're a thoughtful guy, so I'm curious. I made this question specifically for you. If you could go back in the future, if you could change one thing about your NFL career, what would it be? Any decision, anything.
I would sleep. I would get more sleep. I would get more sleep. I found later in my career, I started to realize the difference that me getting a full 8 hours, 7 to 8 hours rest, the difference that it made, not only on my physical performance, but as you know, a lot of the game is between the ears. So mentally, meetings, being prepared, all those type of things. So I would get more sleep. So when I talk to young guys a lot,
no doubt.
I always tell, and when you're 23, 24, 25, you can roll out of bed at 3 a.m. and do what you got to do. But as you start getting 28, 29, 30, 31, it becomes a different game. So like when you start getting that sleep, that changes everything, your mood, how much you can retain as far as information.
No doubt.
Just so sleep, I would say for sure, understanding and even researching how important, sleep is. Sometimes sleep deprivation can affect you more than even like being drunk or under an influence or something. Right. So you got me drinking in the middle of the day. So I tell you,
listen, bro. What's the famous line? There's happy hour somewhere in the world.
Somewhere.
Happy hour somewhere. Hey, bro. I want to first of all, I appreciate you doing this for me. I appreciate your time, your perspective as always, bro. There was a lot of other things I want to get into, but we had great conversation. I didn't want to mess up that flow. But hey, listen, D-Butt, I know you got a lot of things going on, man. I'm proud of you for what's that worth. I'm watching you from afar. I'm trying to get in your shoes right now, man. Continue to have success, you and AB with the Man to Man podcast, and also Everything DB. Before I let you go, what you do with Everything DB, and I think
we're about to crank back up too.
I love the fact that you able to bring the casual fan on a journey of a defensive back in between the ears. What goes on in coverages. I think that's brilliant. It's something that I want to incorporate at some point. Bro, I appreciate it. I'm going to let you go. Thank you for your time, your perspective as always. And cheers, bro.
You, man.
Much success.
Appreciate you, man. Browns legend, a legend in life, man. Appreciate you, DQ, man. And
you got it,
jump
bro.
On Athletes Unplugged, man. It's been an honor. Appreciate you.
I appreciate it, bro. Man, what a great conversation I had with D-Butt, Darius Butler. As I said before in the intro, you can find him weekly on the Man to Man podcast with his co-host, Antoine Bethea. He's another 14-year NFL veteran. They cover topics from the NFL to NBA and everything in between. And so I think you definitely should tune into that, as well as Athletes Unplugged. We had a great organic conversation. I love what he's into. Unfortunately, I didn't get to talk about a lot of the other different things I wanted to dive into off the field, about his transition, how he handled the transition, and also some of the things he's been involved with off the field in terms of the Black Professional Summit that he's been involved with, and some of the entrepreneurship things that he's invested and spent his time towards. I think D-Butt is one of the smartest guys I've ever come in contact with. in the National Football League, whether it be player, coach, or just person in general. I think he definitely has a great head on his shoulders. He comes from a great family background. He went to UConn, obviously. Obviously, you can play football to be on a full scholarship, but you have to be academically, ready for that moment as well. So kudos to him. I appreciate his perspective. I appreciate his candor. I love to have him on, as always. Like he mentioned during the podcast, we're going to have him back on for part 2. We're going to dive into some other juicy stories and some of the most memorable moments that we've shared together as Indianapolis Colts when we beat the Denver Broncos to go to the AFC Championship game. I didn't have a chance to dive into that, but we had some really great, important, and necessary conversations. So, again, thanks for tuning in. I'm your host, Aquil Jackson. Join us next week on Athletes Unplugged. Cheers.